Hi, welcome to episode 3 for Codex Tau Empire. This week we're looking at the Retaliation Cadre detachment. If you like battle suits, this is the one that they've written for you. How are you feeling about battle suits and Retaliation Cadre, John?
Yeah, it feels like such an iconic part of Tau, and it's something we've seen in several editions now where you have armies that are skewed into that. So it's nice to see that there's like a tool set that hopefully enables that to happen, but also without it being the only way they get played, which I hope is what we get to see here.
Sure. All right. So, Tau Empire. What do you get if you bring in the Tau Empire? You get for the greater good. We've been through this a couple of times now. Basically, the way that the army rule works is you pick 3 units, 2 of yours, 1 of your opponents, that both of your units can see. 1 of your units you pick to be the spotted unit, 1 of them you pick to be the guided unit. The guided unit gets +1 ballistic skill when shooting at the spotted unit. I think I've said some of those words wrong, but it's fine. We know what I'm going for.
It's a thing.
Yeah, you get +1 ballistic skill with the buffed unit of yours shooting at the enemy unit you have selected. If you shoot at anything else with your guided unit, they're at -1 ballistic skill. So no splitting fire, which is less of a problem now because you have smaller units. Also, if you've got the marker-like keyword, the guided unit ignores cover against the spotted unit. This is the sort of big thing for me. +1 ballistic skill is really nice. Ignoring cover is even nicer because there's a lot of AP1, AP0, AP2 in the Tau book. You also get Bonded Heroes for being in Retaliation Cadre. This is each time a Tau Empire battlesuit model from your army makes a ranged attack within 12 inches of the enemy, you get +1 strength. And if the attack targets a unit within 6 inches, improve the AP by 1 as well. This is great. This is very much leaning into that 9th edition, really aggressive, Farsight, Montcar playstyle that I enjoy the most. You can do a similar sort of thing with the Montcar detachment and go really aggressive with that, but this is on all game, and it's very much you have to be up close and personal. What do you think?
See, I think the one shame bit of it is that it is ranged attacks. Like, to me, I really like the idea if it was all attacks, because it'd be that surprise of that Tau battlesuit's fists suddenly doing a little bit more. But that's just me wish listing. I still wish we had combat battlesuits, but I think it's really cool because there was a time where Tau would just sit in their deployment zone and shoot at people, and then that was the game. But that was.
I think that's a lot less fun for both sides of the table when Tau are playing a very static gun line. When Tau are playing a very aggressive, having to sacrifice units, but they're doing a lot of damage, I think that's the more engaging.
It becomes a game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So what do you get enhancement-wise? Give us a run through these, John.
Right, so this one, the first one is Pure Tide Engram Neurochip. Try saying that 3 times. So again, these are all Tau battlesuit only. So this is once per turn, you can target the bearer's unit with a stratagem, even if you have already targeted a different unit with that stratagem this phase. Unfortunately, this detachment only has 1 battle tactic. So it does limit this one a little bit, but obviously you got your core stratagems. There is a couple of battle tactics in there, but it doesn't feel as nice as other.
This enhancement gets on my nerves because it was in the index, and they only had, I believe, 1 battle tactic in the index, and then they reworked all the stratagems for the index detachment, and now there are, I think, 4 or 5 battle tactics in there, but they took away the enhancement that would have worked with those battle tactic stratagems. Then they put it in Retaliation Cadre, which has 1 battle tactic.
They did it for you.
I think they did it just to annoy me, but that's fine. You can only take 3, so maybe the next 3 are better.
Yeah. So then we got the Star Flare Ignition System. Again, battlesuit only. At the end of your opponent's turn, if the bearer's unit is not within engagement range of 1 or more enemy units, you can remove that unit from the battlefield and place it into strategic reserves. So essentially, you turn a bearer's unit into a Calidus assassin. So it's the old picking up at the end of someone's turn, which is great. So like, if you go second, your opponent's gone first, they've done all their stuff, you've got a really defensive unit, and then you put it up into reserve and bring it down turn 1.
Because it goes into strategic reserves, you can't do that. It's the wording on those ones is on your next turn that comes down. This one specifically goes into strat reserve. But I think it's still good. I think
that's still got play.
You might not even end up using it more than once, or you can deploy a unit on the table, pick them up on your opponent's turn 1 if you go first, or turn 2 if they go first, and it lets you have something on the board to deal with them if they go really aggressive.
Yeah.
But then you can still pick it up and reposition. Another way I like using this is putting it on a melter unit, coming down, melting something reasonably important, but not super not super key, more off to the side that your opponent's going to struggle to get to you. You then keep that unit safe with fire and fade, strike and fade, whatever it's called in this attachment. They move after you're shooting, and that lets you then pick it up after you've killed something. You can repeatedly do that. You're not necessarily killing the highest valued units because they're probably in the center of your opponent's force. But if you're coming down and blowing something up on the flank, moving so your opponent can't respond to you, they move out of position next turn, you pick it back up. I think this is a really good stratagem. I really like it.
Especially if it's an outlier unit. Yeah, it's really handy.
Third up.
So internal grenade racks. So the bearer's unit, the bearer gains the grenade keyword, and then each time the bearer ends a normal move, you can select one enemy unit that is moved over during that phase. If you do so, roll 6d6. For every 4-up, it's a mortal wound. So not only can you use the grenade strap, but you also get this whole kind of fly over mortal wound thing. So a double way of sprinkling mortal wounds, which isn't a bad thing.
I really like it. One of the things that Tau have struggled with historically since they turned up in the game, they haven't really been able to do much in the way of mortal wounds or out of phase damage. Those are two things that they really struggle with. There's not as much call for out of phase damage now as there has been. However, if you need to finish off something in the movement phase, or you need to finish something, there's a lot of use for this. It is expensive at 30 points. However, I quite like it. It gives you the option to sprinkle on average 3 mortal wounds into something. It unlocks the grenade stratagem for another on average 3 mortal wounds. 6 mortal wounds that your opponent wasn't necessarily factoring in on the maths on what your suits are going to do is quite nice. I think it's good.
Gets past invulns.
Yeah, it's a little expensive. So it's not, I don't think it's an auto include, but I think it's very good. And if you can find points for it, you'll be happy to have it.
Prototype weapon system. Tau battlesuit only. Each time the bearer is selected to shoot, select either lethal hits or sustained hits 1 ability. Until those attacks are resolved, you get that ability. Nice and simple.
Yeah, no, I think this is fantastic. You're going to be taking it. I can't remember how many points it is. Isn't this one like 15 points or something? I think it's the cheapest of all of them. And in my opinion, the best one. There's not a lot of ways to get lethal or sustained hits in this detachment. This is one of the 2 ways, I believe. And it procs if you overwatch. So being able to, turn on sustained hits 1, if you've got a unit that you need to do a little bit of overwatch with, is really nice. It gives you an extra threat. It allows you to take a unit that has had its damage output reduced from, down to about 30 to 40% when you factor in the commander, and buff that up to about maybe 50%. I think it's really good. I think it's solid. It goes in every one of my lists.
It's neat.
It's pretty neat. So stratagems. The enhancements are, I think they're fine. A couple of solid ones in there. How are we doing on the stratagem front?
So as you can see, we've only got 1 battle tactic, which is a shame, but it is a really good battle tactic, I think, because you were just saying, the Arachon protocol is in your shooting phase. 1 battlesuit unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot this phase until the end of the phase. Each time a model in that unit makes an attack, if the enemy unit contains 6 or more models, it gains sustained hits 1. If it's 11 or more models, it's sustained hits 2. So there's that spicy sustained hits again.
Yeah, so this is an interesting one. It's not going to come up every game because you might play against MSU 5 model squads. However, if you think about what's sort of good in the meta at the moment, Custodies are running 5-man Warden squads with a character attached. That gets you up to 6 sustained hits against Custodies. You want that extra efficiency. If you're playing into Guard, you might be running into, 10 model Kassakin squads. If you're playing into Space Marines, they're base models are, base units are 5 models, but you might see 10 model Death Company. You might see Blade Guard.
6 is a Blade Guard with a character.
Or Eradicators.
Yeah.
Hellblasters in 10. Thunderwolf Cavalry in 6s. 7s with a character. There's quite a lot of stuff out there that's really good, really tanky, that you want the efficiency boost into, that gets you the extra shots. And then sometimes you just have to play against, Tyrannid Swarm, and you go, cool, I'm really glad I have this in my back pocket. And it's a battle tactic. And Farsight's pretty good. He gives you +1 to wound and a free battle tactic every turn. Usually just going to be a CP reroll. But in this case, you could theoretically light up 2 massive bricks in a way you wouldn't be able to otherwise.
Yeah. So then the next one, for 1 CP, is Failsafe Detonator. So any phase just after a battlesuit model from your army is destroyed, that destroyed model, the target is that destroyed model's unit. You can use this stratagem even if it was just destroyed. Before removing the model from play, if it has a deadly demise ability, do not roll. Instead, choose whether the result is a 1 or a 6. So you get to pick whether it's going to blow up or definitely not. Roll 1d6. If it doesn't have the deadly demise ability, roll 1d6 for each unit within 6. On a 4-up, that unit suffers d3 mortal wounds. So I like this because you've got something like, say, stealth suits, and they're up somewhere forward, and someone's killed them and they're quite close by. They don't blow up normally, but it's a way of peppering some mortal wounds in there, like in places that people wouldn't expect it.
It is. I don't think I'm sold on it. It's 2 CP, which is quite steep.
Goodness me. I missed that. Look at
if it was 1 CP, I think I'd like it as a defensive or offensive tool sometimes, maybe. I'm not feeling it at 2 CP. I probably wouldn't use it much at 1 CP, but it's kind of cute to have. At 2, I don't think I'm ever realistically using it.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Yeah. Moving on.
Cool. Stim Injectors. 1 CP. Let me just check. It's definitely 1 CP. I can read, apparently. This is after it's your opponent's shooting phase or fight phase just after they have selected a target. 1 battlesuit unit from your army that was selected by 1 or more attacking units attacks. Until the end of the phase, models in that unit have a Feel No Pain 6+ ability.
So this was really good in the index, and it got unfortunately worse. The rule was printed the same, but all of your battle suits went from 6 wounds to 5.
Yeah.
The efficiency on a 6-up Feel No Pain is significantly lower when you need to save 2 wounds to save it, because 6 wounds is quite a solid breakpoint in terms of 2 and 3 damage weaponry.
Yeah.
If you save 1 against either of those, which you're statistically likely to do if you've got 6 wounds, it means that you need 50% more wounds to go through with a 3 damage weapon, or 33% more with a 2 damage weapon. Now that you're only a 5 wound model, I don't know that I love this. I think I'm still going to be slamming on Riptides. If a big chunk of damage is threatening them, I need them to secure some primary or something like that. But I think I'm not jazzed about using it, whereas I might have been before.
Yeah. Again, it feels like a nice thing to have, but when you're CP hungry, are you really going to spend it?
Playing Chaos Knights, I can tell you that the time that you slam a 6-up Feel No Pain, pretty few and far between, unless there is some sort of special reason that you will do, such as making your enemy's weapons less efficient, which is no longer really the case.
Yeah, so moving on to something that probably may get used a bit more often, we've got the Torstar Gambit. So this is in your shooting phase. After a Tower Battle Suit unit from your army that can fly has had its attacks resolved, if the enemy unit is not within, if you're not within engagement range of the enemy unit, you can make a normal move. The downside is you cannot charge. And I know that as Tau players are always heartbroken when they can't charge. But...
So just speaking of not being able to charge, in 9th edition, their version of this rule didn't have the you cannot charge rider. So it's interesting that they fixed it for 10th edition.
I'm glad. I've experienced it.
This is incredible. This should not be 1 CP.
No.
This strat and the next strat should have their command points flipped. It should have been 2 CP for Fire and Fade. It's an incredibly strong ability. You can use it offensively to position for next turn. You can use it defensively. You can use it to score primary. You can use it to deny points. You can use it to move block. It's really, really good. It's such a good rule. 1 CP is too good for it. Maybe now that the units that you can go on are smaller, it's not as much of a problem as I'm imagining it to be. But I think this is like the reason to play the detachment.
Because I guess if it was a bigger than 3 suits 9 inches away, to get more bodies onto a point was quite impactful. Whilst I guess if it's only 3,
yeah, I'm more
you just
thinking
get
in
them
terms
3
of,
aren't you?
you know, if you're still running a 400-point suit brick,
Yeah.
being able to protect that for a single CP is very important. Whereas protecting 3 suits in a commander is still good, but it's less of
It's
a.
helpful, but it's not like if this goes, I'm in trouble type of thing. It's more an inconvenience almost.
I will be spending 1 of my CP on this every turn.
Yeah.
Just to be clear.
Yeah. For 2 CP, though, you might not be spending 2 CP on the Shortened Blade, which is in your movement phase after a battle suit unit from your army has arrived using the Deep Strike ability. It can be set up anywhere on the battlefield more than 3 inches horizontally away from all enemy models. It cannot charge this turn.
It's a great strat. It's expensive
great.
at 2 CP. It's still really good. You know what the best thing about this strat is? Telling your opponent that you have it and going, so I can come in 3 inches away with this unit with my melters that reroll wounds. So,
as a Space Marine player, the threat of having Inceptors that could do the 3-inch deep strike just in my list, even if I never had an intention for that to happen, the threat of it alone meant that people made stupid decisions when deploying, moving every turn, just making sure they screen out as much as they could. It's just the psychological damage it does, just having it as an option, right? It's brilliant.
yeah, it's good. It makes your opponent make worse decisions for sure. And also it unlocks being able to drop in and melter something. I think it's really good. I think I will be looking to use either this or Rapid Ingress on turn 2 to get a unit of suits up close and personal, depending on what I need. You're probably going to be playing tactical cards, so you're looking to discard one of your secondaries on turn 1. If you can do that, you're very happy because it means that you're going to have that additional CP coming into your turn where you want to really do the damage early on.
Cool. And then finally, we've got the Grav Inhibitor field, which is in your opponent's charge phase just after they've declared a charge. 1 Tau unit from your army that was selected to be the target of that charge. The enemy unit must immediately take a battle shock test, and you must roll 1d6 for each model that for each model in the enemy unit. For each 6, they suffer a mortal wound. So it doesn't stop them charging, but it can potentially do something, but also it could do nothing, and you could spend a CP to do sweet nothing.
So. Yeah, I think this is like a toolbox stratagem, but it's that weird Allen key that is only relevant for the bit of IKEA furniture you bought 15 years ago and is no longer printed. Like,
you keep it in the drawer.
Yeah, and one day you're going to go, oh, that was actually really good. You know, your opponent's charging you with something that can't kill you, but will absolutely out OC you off the point. You force a battle shock to try and stop them from doing that, and then you get to score your primary next turn, but it's not guaranteed. Or the mortal wounds make a difference. I think it's cute, but not one that I'm jazzed about.
It's so niche because it's if they've charged a unit and they're hoping to take the point off you, even if they don't kill you.
Yeah.
It's just it's cool.
I will say if it's close, if you killing like 2 models if you killing 2 models or forcing them to fail the battle shock makes you keep the objective, at that point I don't mind it because you're making them roll a load of dice. A couple of 6s might kill, the 2 models you need, or there's the battle shock. Giving you 2 bites of the cherry there is interesting. This is one that I personally am not seeing too much use for, but I'm very interested to see how the community uses it. Let me know if you think I'm wrong, because maybe there's just some like super obvious, very strong use for this strat, and I'm just not getting it.
Battle shocking units out of phase can really surprise you, but this is such a specific timing for it that I'm not too convinced. I think there'll be that one time where someone does it and you're like, that's cool. But if you've got more than one unit going in, it's not a problem. You can take the point. But if it's an 8-point swing of them capturing your enemy outpost,
Sure.
you might want to push it. So
Yeah. Points denial and points
Yeah.
protection, I guess, is the use for this. I think it's an interesting one. There's some whiffs there in the stratagem front, but also some really good ones, I think. So I'm not too upset with the stratagems we've got.
No.
Moving on, commander loadouts. I think this is a good time to have a quick chat about how we think you might want to equip your commanders. So there are 3 types of battlesuit units. We're only talking about the Sunforge and the Star Scythe here. You can use the Fire Knife. I think there is a use for them. But I think these are the 2 that you're going to see more frequently, especially in this detachment. So in the Sunforge, the loadout that I like is triple Fusion Blaster and 1 Cyclic Iron. You can only take 1 Cyclic Iron. It continues being the most efficient gun into most units. In the Sunforge, you're going to be re-rolling your wound rolls. It's solid. I think it's just a really good gun. The fact that you lose 1 potential melter is not too bad because you're putting it in a squad that already has 6. So you're going from either 9 to 10 melters, or you're going, you can have 10 melters, or you can have 9 melters and then 1 Cyclic Iron Blaster. I think I like that more. Gives you a bit more reliable damage, a bit more flexibility as well. As always, shield drones are good on commanders. I haven't put it on here. I quite like having a marker drone in Retaliation Cadre, which you'll see on the next slide when we talk about the list. I think if you're going really deep into the battle suits with this detachment, you're going to find that you're not getting all of your suits guided. You're going to be using some of them as observers. Having the marker light on those squads just unlocks the ability for you to pump as much damage with the rest of the units as possible. And realistically, losing 1 wound on a character model, I'd like to have the extra wound, but I'm also not super upset about losing it. On the opposite flank, because that's the obvious one, you just go for the 3 really efficient guns and then the Cyclic Iron Blaster that you can only have 1 of. On the opposite side, the unit that you put in the Star Scythe. So to remind you, Star Scythe, if you're shooting at a non-vehicle on monster unit, you get +1 AP. So it's like the anti-infantry unit, effectively. Keep in mind, you're also getting +1 strength and AP in this detachment if you're close enough. I really like just going for output. So 1 high output burst cannon, 8 shots, strength 5, AP 0, 1 damage. If you're fully buffed to the 9s, that's 8 shots, strength 6, AP 2, 1 damage. That's quite a nice profile. Very versatile. Good for clearing, Kassakin with their 3-up save, suddenly becoming 5-up. It'll even chip away a Marine or 2, whereas the rest of your guns are really efficient at doing that. Again, 1 Cyclic Iron Blaster, incredibly good. You don't really care if you overheat because, 3 wounds onto the squad. It's either not going to get hit at all or it's fire and forget. I really like the missile drones on this, not missile drones, sorry, the missile pods on this squad. The reason for that is when you're, again, fully buffed, they go from strength 7 AP 1 2 damage, which is underwhelming, to strength 8 AP 3 2 damage. That cleans up. That's wounding Marines on 2s. That's killing them immediately. Obviously, we're not seeing necessarily a huge amount of MEQ bodies, but it is still nice to have a profile that's efficient in them. You're still wounding like a Gravis armor on 3s, 2 of them going through kill them. You're getting 2 shots per gun instead of 1 with the plasma. You're getting more range if you do need that versatile, just ping something away from an objective. I think it's just really solid. And then again, you're looking for your shield drones and potentially the marker drone on this squad as well. Any thoughts on those 2 loadouts?
See, to me, I quite like you said about the marker drones, and it's got me thinking. Like you were saying about those profiles and the closeness, and having that marker drone feels more impactful to me because the stripping cover just gets it rewards when you've got the bonus to being close with the AP.
Yeah,
doubling down on that feels like it's smart. Like if you're not going to do that, it feels you're just risking a bit because the minute you got that or an armor of contempt, suddenly just this AP3 malarkey becomes AP1 essentially.
I think Tau
Very
have to strip
quickly.
cover away
Yeah.
with all of their shooting, basically. All their shooting that can be buffed. The list that we'll go onto. In fact, let's just go onto it now.
Yeah, let's do it, because that's exactly it.
So in this list, there's 8 damaging units, effectively, and there are 3 units of stealth suits to guide with. You could make an argument that you want to put more, so a couple of Tetras in. Tetras are good, especially with the unit with the prototype weapon system that's going to have lethal hits or sustained hits, so fishing for those 6s a little bit, giving you an increase in efficiency there, or the Riptides as well, just making sure you're getting as much value out of them. However, I think mostly I'm pretty happy just going, this unit is shooting at, this unit with flamers is shooting at full efficiency, apart from the gun drones on the shoulders, which are terrible anyway. But then the squad that it's affecting is still hitting at +1 ballistic skill, is still getting that ignores cover. So I think this is sort of a very tuned list in terms of getting as much damage in as possible, which I think is the way that this detachment plays. So Farsight is in there. Farsight's great, gives you +1 to wound, goes with one of the Star Scythe battlesuit units. They've got the high output of shots, so you get a lot of value out of that one, whereas you don't necessarily need it with the fusion blasters because you're getting rerolls to wound already. Just a really efficient unit. You also get the battle tactic for free once per turn. Probably going to be a command point, but if you're playing against the, any army where you want to get those sustained hits, being able to do that for free is nice. I can't remember the name of it. So if you want to use the stratagem, this is where you want to put it probably. Then you've got a commander in Coalstar. We've got 2 of them that are basically equipped the same. As we talked about, the high output burst cannons, 2 missile pods, 1 cyclic iron blaster, shield and drone. One of them has got a prototype weapon system, which is the sustained or lethal hits. That goes in the other 2 squads of the Star Scythe. Yep, that's correct. Yep. Then we've got a 3rd commander in Coalstar. The reason we went for Coalstars here is the mobility is just really good. Getting assault on all your weapons, the extra 2 inches of move is really nice. And you might not end up actually rapid ingress, deep striking your fusion suits, the Sunforge, but this one does go with the Sunforge. Adds additional fusion in the squad, basically, that really reliably hits. And then we've got 3 units of stealth suits, fantastic units. I like them more than Tetris now. We're in a detachment where only battle suits get buffed, so having stealth units that get buffed is quite nice as well. And then to round it out, there's 1 scoring unit of Kroot Carnivore, and then 2 Riptides and 2 Ghost Kills. Ghost Kills I absolutely love in this detachment. If you're danger close, then you're going to be strength 9, AP3, 3 damage, which is a really solid profile into a lot of things in the meta at the moment. Even solid into wraiths with their Feel No Pain, because every 2 fail saves on average kills a model by the time they fail some Feel No Pains. They're also, your Riptides and your Ghost Kill are your tanky units. They let you stand on objectives and not fear too much reprisal because they've got that inherent tankiness, or you can't shoot Ghost Kills over 18 inches. So this is sort of like the maximum damage that I could put into a Retaliation Cadre list. What do you think about it?
So, just to touch on what you said about stealth suits as well, is they are a battle suit with the fly keyword. So a lot of the stratagems required access to those things. But the big thing I think is interesting for them over Tetras is that they are infantry.
Yes.
So they're a battle suit that's infantry, so they're a little bit easier for you to reposition on a more dense board. So if you're trying to get those spotting kind of lines, sometimes things like Tetras, if you've had to defensively deploy them, you've then got to get those angles quickly with them, and sometimes that can be a challenge, right? And if you've got these little dudes, and especially if they're forward, because they've got infiltration as well, so they're infiltrators, you can easily hide them somewhere comfortably and then just tow one of them out, just to get a definite bead on something that your opponent might not have seen. And I think that's quite nice that it's utilizing how Tau should play from a sort of thematic standpoint, that they are meant to be the kind of the forward guys, the way that scouts are meant to be for Space Marines, but it's actually got a rules mechanic to kind of give you that, which I like. And
they're also kind of deceptively tanky.
Yes, they're
There's
annoying.
because you only really care about the Shazo surviving with the Fusion Blaster. Carries both of the drones and the battlesuit support system and the fusion blaster, so you've effectively got 6 ablative wounds that don't do a huge amount in that squad. They have stealth on the battlesuit on the data sheet, which gives them -1 to be hit, so they don't survive any real damage going into them. But you can't just sort of put ablative firepower into them to pick them up. You have to actually commit to killing them, which when you've got this many suits on the board, I think is quite difficult to do.
Yeah. And they do have the, I know we've not picked it here, but the access to the homing beacon as well, which I think is quite nice if you wanted to rapid ingress for free. Like, there's those choices where if you are, for whatever reason, not playing tactical, having that way to get those sorts of stratagems for free is quite handy at times. So
yeah, and it's another one of those abilities that you can tell your opponent that makes them play in a different way. So, for example, you can infiltrate up a squad of stealth suits somewhere safe. Your offset ruin in the middle of the board, for example, and you can say to your opponent, "Look, just a heads up, I can rapid ingress here on my next turn if I want to. Oh, sorry, on your next turn." As long as it's within 9 inches of this unit, I get to do it for free. Just a heads up. And then they end up committing to screen out that side of the board and jokes
or
on them.
avoid it. Sometimes people just
or
go,
just
give null the play.
If they want to give you free primary all game as a Tau player, you love that. So both of those options are good. It's not going to come up every game, but just having that putting that pressure on your opponent to make the decision means that they're more likely to make the wrong decision. All right. Well, that was our list. As always, do let us know in the comments what you think. If there's anything that you've been playing, Tau's really open at the moment. I'm really excited to see what people have been playing. We've got a lot of people playing them in the team, a lot of experimentation across multiple different attachments. So we've had some fun discussion there. Do feel free to drop us a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already. This is the home of Cracking the Codex, so if you're looking for more of these breakdowns every week, they will be on this channel. If you enjoy the things that we do, you can considering supporting us, and thanks for watching.